And one of the problems that he had is one of the problems that I find with many new advertisers is that they think that once they have the website up, that people are going to arrive, or that that is the only solution to the marketing mix problem. And it's not. Even though I specialize with what I do, websites, SEO, content, etc., there's a huge opportunity for paid marketing, for social media, for creative local advertising, for network marketing. And those things, all a mix of those things really help. And I think many younger law firms, or not necessarily in age, but they're newer, they think that the only thing that's going to work is website marketing.
Welcome to It's Marketing's Fault, the podcast where we discuss how to do marketing the right way. I'm your host, Eric Rutherford, and I'm excited today because I have with me Doug Bradley. He is the president and founder of Everest Legal Marketing, which specializes in attorney website design, SEO, and content marketing for law firms. Doug, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And one of the reasons I was looking forward to this particular conversation was I really like how you are attorney focused. Yeah. You're like, that is our customer base. That is who we serve. So how did you get started with marketing for lawyers? It wasn't something that I dreamed about when I was a child. But I actually, right out of college, rather, I was recruited into an advertising agency. You and I of a kind of a similar age will appreciate this, that sold Yellow Page advertising. And so a lot of our clientele at that time were lawyers. And I did really well at it. I really liked advertising and marketing and the sales process and the motions. And I liked the chase. I liked the hunt. And I also liked the successes that my clients would, talk to me about. During that, I was actually recruited to lawyers.com, which at the time was owned by Martindale-Hubbell. And that was when I really started to focus on just law firm marketing. And a lot of lawyers really educated me at that time as to how their firms worked, how practice areas delivered different types of clientele. And I got really invested in working that company. And then one day, the company was sold to another company, and that company fired all of the outside sales reps. And so they only kept about 20 existing people on hand because they already had about 100 internal phone reps, and they didn't really need expensive outside sales reps. And so I figured, it's a good opportunity for me to start my own thing. And I have a couple of clients that would be willing to work with me personally. And that's really kind of how I started. I love it. And I like how it was one of those things where it's the job that happened after college, and you just sort of, it wasn't like this intentional, I am going to be a legal marketer. It's just, that's the path that presented itself to you, and then you built from it.
Yeah. And I was good at it. I really liked it. While I was at lawyers.com, I generally helped with the website build for the client. I helped with the content. I helped with making tweaks. And I really taught myself how to do it. And, it was something that I had a knack for doing. I have a natural competitive nature about me. And I love to see what I was doing was kind of kicking the butts of other competitors for my clients.
Well, and that's something else. I think people don't realize how much marketing can impact any legal firm.
Sure.
In terms, it's not this old staid kind of, market. Like it's a competitive landscape.
Yeah. Even, it's funny, even larger firms and firms that have a really well-known brand, they still benefit, I find, from SEO and marketing. Even my clients who said that they probably won't get many clients from it. I've got clients who do federal defense types of cases, really high-end litigation where, their retainer might be high five, low six-figure types of sums, and they benefit from it. People who do very obscure areas of law, there might not be, tens of thousands of searches a month for those types of practices, but they only need, one or two of those types of clients a year to really make it, be successful for them.
All right, folks, a quick breather here. In my time building my business, I've come to a profound realization. Certain tools can be a game changer. That's why I'm excited to talk about Leadfeeder. It's a tool that helps you cut through the data and turn those website visitors into solid leads. Leadfeeder shows you which companies are checking out your site, tracking their behavior, and integrates all this with your CRM. Result? Your secret weapon for targeted lead engagement and making it easier for your team to convert website traffic into sales. Head to leadfeeder.com for a free demo and get a free extended premium trial when you let the rep know that you found about Leadfeeder through the It's Marketing's Fault podcast. All right, back to the show. I didn't think about that, but depending on your specialization and what you do in terms of the legal landscape,
sure,
it can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
In terms of being found, because I do remember the Yellow Pages, and I joke with my children about that. Like they've never seen the Yellow Pages; they have no idea what that is. But I remember, and that's how you found people, and you couldn't find people outside your city,
right?
So like the SEO angle, I mean, that's pretty brilliant.
Yeah. And because SEO lends itself to that highly directional marketing and the demand is already built in, you just need to find someone, local or fairly local that does what you need them to do. And SEO is a natural fit for a lot of those, especially high value order types of clients where their client's worth several thousand or much more in revenue.
Now, and that makes sense. And then that kind of leads us then into Everest Legal Marketing. What is that, the business that you have today? Tell us all about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've really stuck in our lane when it comes to marketing. We really do a handful of things, and we've chosen to focus on those things and not really stray too far outside the lines. Primarily, it's website design for law firms, content development. So we work with just under a dozen legal writers in the U.S., most of whom are JDs, and they write content for our clients. And so we develop the practice pages, the homepage, the biographies, the blogs, all of those things for the content on the website and off of the website. And then we also do active search engine optimization, on-site, off-site, and those types of things. So that's really what we focus on, because those are the things that we found with our clients that really move the needle in terms of how many leads are we getting, how many of those are we converting into actual retainers or clients.
And I like that. So it really just gives them a footprint and gives them credibility is the wrong word. I mean, they're licensed, they have all the official stuff, but really that extra bit of the extra credibility of footprint just in the content world, which seems like that is more important today than ever before.
Yeah. I mean, in my field, search engine optimization, it seems like the way things have been going, at least over the last year or so, is that the websites that have the strongest footprint, some call it domain authority, or those types of websites seem to be ranking and being visible and found much, much better these days than even before. So having a strong SEO presence or an SEO strategy, I think today as a law firm is critical.
It is. And then, so what size law firms do you use? Do you serve large customers, small customers? I just love to hear kind of where you're at with that.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of runs the gamut. I mean, small to medium-sized firms are really our bread and butter. Most of my clients are the attorneys themselves or their office manager or someone along those lines, and they have my personal cell phone number and they text me directly, and I'm kind of like the one throat to choke. If anything goes wrong, you better get Doug on the phone. So, but I like that relationship. I like that. I actually love developing personal relationships with my clients, and I think they appreciate that too.
No, I appreciate that as well. And it seems like you, from that small to medium especially, it gives you a little more face time. As you say, they've got your number, but they are, I would almost say, a little more open to suggestion and to doing some new things, as opposed to the massive law firm that's been there for 120 years and they're not.
Yeah.
they don't. I mean, they're big enough that they don't necessarily need it or care. I guess that's the big thing.
Yeah, it's a funny thing in legal marketing. What I've found, especially with older firms or more established firms that have been around for, like you said, 40, 50, 100 years, they come to me with this conundrum that they want to be found and they want high visibility for the practices and the searches that they're relevant for, but they don't want to appear like they're marketing. and lawyers, especially of an older generation, often feel like advertising is offensive because it actually used to be illegal. And so many of the older crowd, they still carry that forward, and they treat marketing as the thing that they don't want to do, but they want the benefit of it.
That's fascinating, just in the terms of the perspective, in terms of, yeah, and I can see, because you look around and there's definitely some negative marketing. Yeah. And so I think that can, draw the attention, draw the eye, and maybe they just don't want to be associated with that, or just, I don't want to say it feels beneath them, but I can totally get there. Yeah. It's like, I didn't have to before. Why should I now?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's been a favorite line or objection from clients, I guess, throughout my entire career, for sure.
So, let's just talk about those small firms, especially as they start up.
Yeah.
So, what do they get wrong about website marketing? Like, they're establishing their firm, they're getting, the first year or two. Where do they go wrong?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll give you an example of something that just happened this week. Actually, just yesterday, now that I think about it, a potential new client called me, and I talked with him for about a half an hour. And he really does kind of a unique area of law. It's called bad faith insurance. It can be a very profitable area of law, but it's not like personal injury where these types of incidents happen, 1,000 times a day in an average metro market. And one of the problems that he had is one of the problems that I find with many new advertisers is that they think that once they have the website up, that people are going to arrive, or that is the only solution to the marketing mix problem. And it's not. Even though I specialize with what I do, websites, SEO, content, etc., there's a huge opportunity for paid marketing, for social media, for creative local advertising, for network marketing. And those things, all a mix of those things, really help. And I think many younger law firms, or not necessarily in age, but they're newer, they think that the only thing that's going to work is website marketing, and that it's going to help immediately.
Yeah, I like how you broke the two things. One, website only, and two, it'll work immediately, and neither is accurate.
Yeah, it might work immediately, which would be great, right? That can be a good expectation to set.
So let me just kind of ask about things like social media, things like even newsletter, email lists.
Yeah.
Is that just something that's not on their radar at all? Or is that something that they feel like, oh, the legal profession can't do that or shouldn't do that? I'm curious your perspective.
Yeah, I think most law firms, most attorneys they feel, and to some degree I kind of agree with them, is that the website is kind of the tip of the spear. Because if you're doing any other form of marketing, eventually that advertising message is going to cue someone to find you online, or at least that's probably what's likely to happen. So I think many law firms take a lot of time and effort and resources to build a compelling website that presents them in a professional manner, as they should. But I also think that there's also a specialty involved in something like either newsletter marketing or email marketing. And for those types of efforts, I really think you should find someone who does those specific things really well and really is effective at that type of marketing.
So it sounds like, and I agree, I think you got to have the website. That's like foundation.
Yeah.
But then it sounds like really just this idea of helping them understand it is the beginning, but it can't be the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
In terms of what they're doing.
Sure. I definitely have that conversation all the time. And I think for many of my clients, they tend to lean on SEO because it does provide a really good ROI. It provides a number of leads and a number of inquiries, but there are clients to be found elsewhere.
That's a good point. It's like it's not the only source.
Sure.
And then that kind of leads me into, because you've talked about legal content. Mm-hmm. So what is good legal content? What's it look like?
Oh man, that's changed so much over the last year or 2 years, I think, with Google's algorithm updates recently. Google in the last year, really since about August of 23, has really been focusing on helpful content. And if you Google the search phrase helpful content update, you'll find out anything you'd want to know about this. But trying to nail down, especially for lawyers, what exactly is helpful content to help meet what Google perceives as the user's demand is helpful content is kind of one of those moving target types of things. It used to be if you wrote the most comprehensive content, the best cited, the most informative, you'd probably rank pretty well with that content plus a good website plus a strong backlink profile. What we've seen with some of our clients, not all of them, are those really long format, 1,000 to 2,000 word pages are being outranked by pages that are more succinct, and they tend to focus a little bit more on trying to deliver the helpful content up front to a client when they're on the page. And so if you ask me a year or two ago, my answer would be different today. But today, my answer would be focus on being as helpful as you possibly can be without providing legal advice. And also position yourself as the professional. Position yourself as someone who has expertise, authority, trustworthiness, and experience.
And I hadn't thought about that, but that's a really good point, that idea of you want to share information, but it can't be official legal guidance, right?
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah, not
so
not
how do you that balance? That seems like that would be a hard line to navigate.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of towing the line between whetting somebody's appetite, trying to give them enough information to let them know that you're knowledgeable enough so that it will prompt them to call you or submit a contact form or reach out to you in one way or another. And I think that's definitely a careful balance that you have to achieve between being a marketer and also making sure that you're not providing specific legal advice for, someone whose situation you don't know about.
That's a good point. And kind of with the other one where you said, like with Google and like last August, they've changed their definition of what good content, helpful content. That's the one, helpful content are like the attorneys, are they beginning to shift that? So if they had been doing this, for a number of years, are they making the switch, or is it more like, is it just a a slog to make that conversion, or are you leaving them just alone and changing it going forward?
Well, most of our clients, we earn their trust pretty quickly when we bring them on, and quite frankly, most of our clients trust us to do what's best for them, and they're telling us, "Hey, you know this better than I do," and so if we need to present information in a different way, let's do that. But there's also some clients where we look back that we've worked with for 5, 6, 7 years, and we've developed quite the inventory of articles. And we go back and we say, well, we've got to update some of this stuff because it's really not helpful because it was written in 2017. And so, yes, then it becomes a content nightmare sometimes because it's still content that we think is marketable, but we have to update it because it's aged, like fine milk.
That's a beautiful, beautiful picture, because I have dealt with content like that, and going back, and it's like, wow, we don't even use this technology anymore. So your customers, especially when they're starting up, they think it should go faster, it should be immediate.
Sure.
So why does SEO take a long time to be effective? Because I know some people listening, they are just SEO, focused, but a lot of marketers and business owners, they sort of get it, like they know it's important, but they don't know why. And so why does it take so long?
Yeah. Well, there's a handful of variables here, and I'll unpack it, and you ask me questions along the way. But I think so. The first thing is Google doesn't trust your website. They don't have any reason to trust your website when your website's new. It's as if you just graduated law school and you decided to give a presentation to the Supreme Court. It's kind of that way. Like you want to present your website in the best way possible, but it takes time for Google to trust you as an authority on certain topics. And there are things that we can do as SEO professionals to help along the way. But at the end of the day, Google is the gatekeeper, and we need to make sure that we are presenting that information and building trust to your website as much as possible. The other thing is how long is long? How long is a piece of string? So for some, a long time could be 90 days because they run out of cash flow at the end of 90 days. And that might be a long time. But in the world of SEO, not really so much of a long time. A couple other variables at play here are competition, the competitive landscape, and the geography. If you're in a low population density geography and there's only a couple of competitors in that market, you're going to see results faster than if you were in a major metro like, let's say, Los Angeles or Chicago or Miami, where there's been competitors that are trustworthy there for a decade. And so trying to figure out and develop a timeline and set expectations accordingly is a little bit of an art when it comes to SEO.
All right, folks, a quick breather here. In my time building my business, I've come to a profound realization. Certain tools can be a game changer. That's why I'm excited to talk about Leadfeeder. It's a tool that helps you cut through the data and turn those website visitors into solid leads. Leadfeeder shows you which companies are checking out your site, tracking their behavior, and integrates all this with your CRM. Result? Your secret weapon for targeted lead engagement and making it easier for your team to convert website traffic into sales. Head to leadfeeder.com for a free demo and get a free extended premium trial when you let the rep know that you found about Leadfeeder through the It's Marketing's Fault podcast. All right, back to the show. That makes sense. And then I love how you talked about, when you start your website, it's like they don't know you, they don't trust you just because you haven't proven yourself. Is there something to just not only the amount of content, but the consistency? Is it better like once a month, once a week, once a day? Can you sort of goose your SEO through more and more often?
So from what I remember, I believe it's John Mueller at Google has publicly stated on a Google office hours or somewhere along the way, maybe tweeted, that Google doesn't necessarily look at the quantity or how often or the consistency at which you add new content or blog. They're really looking for helpful content. They're looking for good content that's credible from a website that has high degrees of expertise and credibility that go along with it. So we try to write articles for our clients that meet those needs, but also sometimes there are times when something new comes up in the legal world that we feel like a client might want to address quickly on their website. Maybe a new lawsuit, for example. My project manager just emailed a client this morning about a lawsuit against a major company that has to do with employment law. So she emailed one of our local employment clients to see if they wanted us to write an article about it. And those types of timely articles that are strategically on the backs of a recent news piece are generally helpful because people are going to be looking up those topics at the moment anyway.
So sometimes you can ride that I don't want to say virality current, but the what's very loud at the moment in terms of the popular culture and questions, and be able to at least address it or make something that talks about it in a helpful way.
Oh,
that can
absolutely. An example I often cite to kind of anybody who will listen is one of my clients. We had written an article for him based off of, he's a civil rights lawyer, and can you film police while they're on duty if you're, during a traffic stop? And we published that. And I think the timeline's escaping me a little bit, but we published it either just before or during the George Floyd incident. And after that incident, and for the next year, really after that incident, he was getting upwards of 2,000 visitors a month to that one article on his website. And so when we talk about incidents in the law, there's not a lot of great things that happen that are positive in nature that prompt a lawyer to write something, that could become viral. But it's those types of moments that really help when you have a high authority website with a credible attorney, that the website is developed well and it has strong optimization characteristics.
Well, and I'm guessing even things like, with the non-compete that is, in the last couple of weeks with some of the information
Absolutely.
that's come out on that,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a hot topic for some of your clients as well.
Yeah. I mean, so in California, non-competes are basically useless in California, but yeah, the rest of the nation, absolutely. Non-competes are a really big deal, but things like that, topically relevant, timely relevant types of news, it's certainly an opportunity to write something that's compelling and offer a professional opinion. And when the attorney's on board with that, that's like magic.
I love that. And it sounds then like the attorneys themselves, they're just going about their daily lives and their daily business, but they're working with you.
Right.
And then you create that content, you put it on the website, you do the marketing magic, so to speak, with it, and then they get the benefit. So it's not like they're having to write all this. They just say, please, I would love it. Just make it happen.
Yeah. Most of what we're doing for our clients is a self-generative effort. We're saying, oh, this is probably important, and these are the clients who could benefit from something like this, or this is something that happened really locally.
maybe we can find some information or the legalities surrounding that locally that we can create an article for. And then, we essentially want to take as much of the problem of having a website off of an attorney's shoulders, because when you unpack all of the things like website hosting, SSL, uptime, edits, we hired a new attorney, we fired an old attorney, all of these things, we like to take on that entire responsibility. And so the law firm can outsource that to us, and they just have us to send an email to when they have a request. And we take care of it for them and then report back when it's completed, and they can kind of say, thank you.
I love it. And it's that idea of done for you, right? Like we just handle it, or white glove, you pick your descriptor. It's like, we just take care of it. So you can just focus on, excuse me. So you can focus on you, and, we'll support you all the way.
Yeah. And it's crazy, Eric. You would gasp at how long it takes some providers in our industry to make a simple edit to a website. It's many attorneys will tell me, and would tell anybody that listens, that some of the larger agencies or some of the larger, more well-known legal marketing firms, it might take several weeks to months for them to make a simple edit on a website, something like either a typo or an attorney left and they need to delete the page of that attorney. And that can actually have some real world complications if you don't remove that attorney. And typically, since we have a small, nimble team, if someone sends us a request for an edit, we're getting it done, within a few hours, often, if not within 24 hours, depending on the complexity of it. And when I tell clients that at the beginning, they don't believe me. There's no way that you can, I don't believe you, but okay.
So is that because like updates, tweaks, different things of that nature, is that on like the larger agencies? Is it because there's, like, for lack of a better way of describing it, there's no money in it for them in that respect? Or is it just these little things that, I don't want to say don't matter, but it sounds like they don't matter in that respect. They're more focused on bigger things.
Sometimes I think that's the perspective of other agencies, is that these are small details that don't impact the visibility of the website, the functionality of the website. So these can be put on the back burner. But a lot of times if you're a law firm owner and you've hired a new attorney or you've fired an attorney, I don't consider that a small thing. I mean, I'm a business owner. If I don't want somebody on my website, I don't want somebody on my website now. I want them to be removed today or tomorrow, not next week or next month. And so the way that we prioritize those types of things, I think a lot of our clients really, they're very thankful that we can get those edits done very quickly for them, in a way that many other big agencies kind of trip over themselves to do.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that seems very significant. Like you say, especially when you're looking, we'll call it small business owners, small firms, like that matters. Like those details matter, and they need to get it fixed today.
Yeah. Yeah. It may not be a big deal in the grand scheme of the optimization of your website or the visibility of your website. Granted, those things, it's not a priority in that way, but if it's a priority to you, then it needs to be a priority to me.
So true. And that's a huge perspective shift that I think some companies, I'd say they would benefit from making. It sounds like you are just laser focused on taking care of the customer and serving them and making sure that what's important to them is the most important thing to you.
Yeah. When it comes to our business, absolutely. We that's, I think, one of our main goals is, if a client's asking something of us, can we do it? Can we do it well? Let's do it, or let's find somebody that can do it and let's get it done, because, they're relying on us to make this happen, because it may be a 1 or 2 person operation on their end. They don't have the time to go and, go find a contractor. That's our job.
No, and that I appreciate that, just that perspective as well, because especially small businesses, the head count's low, time is more scarce than money
Absolutely.
in a lot of cases.
Oh yeah.
And so you really have to help them,
Yep.
with that. So we've talked about legal SEO, not for everybody listening. Remember, that's legal, not like what is legal in SEO, but just, legal marketing SEO. Just in general, for an entrepreneur sort of getting into the marketplace, what's it take? Like how would an entrepreneur get into that SEO, into a more crowded niche? Is it possible, or is it just too big?
So if an entrepreneur wants to enter the world of SEO as a business owner, an SEO business and service provider, right?
So I would say, even like as an entrepreneur who is wanting to grow their business, they are, it's a startup and they are launching. How do they begin this process of SEO? I know you talked even earlier where, it takes time. They have to get trust. Is it just, you just have to start, you just have to optimize, you just have to get that helpful content out there? Is that kind of the plan for anybody?
Well, I think if you're looking to bring on a partner who is going to take this on for you, I would try to find a partner who has experience in your business type. So there's lots of niches in the world of SEO. There's plastic surgeon SEOs, there's legal SEOs, there's automotive SEOs, there's HVAC SEO. There's people who really specialize in a niche, and they get really good at that niche because they know some of the major competitors. Maybe they know some tips and tricks that are really compelling on that niche's type of website. And they will have a perspective that someone who doesn't do it all day, every day may not have. And that would be the best, and make sure that you can verify that person's experience and capabilities. Who do you work with? What types of results do they have? Can I see some examples and run them through the ringer a little bit, make them prove themselves? Because in search engine optimization, it's an industry where we see a lot. If you talk to a lot of other SEO folks, we see a lot of people who say that they have SEO experience or that they can do SEO, and they really just don't have the experience. And they end up charging a business owner for months or years for things that are completely unproductive, or they're focusing on things that have no sway one way or the other with the the visibility of a campaign. And the business owner is busy being a business owner.
No, and it's fascinating as you say that, just the specialization of SEO. I had one of those like aha moments, like it never occurred to me that SEO and SEO marketing is that granular in terms of specialization, in terms of industry. I just confess my own foolishness in not realizing the fact. I mean, we do everything else, right? Everything else is specialized. Why would SEO not be specialized?
Yeah, well, the complexity of it, as the complexity goes up, and also as the value of the business's client goes up, you're going to find more specialty SEO, because they're the people who are trying to really get good at that market, so that way they can have a competitive rate and they can make a good profit on their clients, and so for the person who is selling a service that's $100 for their client, the competitive landscape of that is going to be far less than a personal injury lawyer in a densely populated metro.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. And I guess one other thing with that, because I know we've talked a lot about Google, because Google is the elephant in the room. You have to address Google. They have, they just have their footprint's too big not to focus on them. But what about other search engines, whether it's Bing, whether it's like DuckDuckGo or like Brave, or how does SEO work there? Does it work the same way, or do they do it different?
Yeah, Eric, it's funny that you mentioned that specifically. And you and I didn't really prepare for this conversation at all. But in the last several months, what we're seeing is a bit of a decline in market share of Google. Google's market share, for the first time in a very long time, has gone down considerably. If you look at, I believe, statcounter.com, it allows you to check market share and search engine market share. Google's market share has gone down 2% in the United States over the last rolling 12 months. 2% doesn't sound like a lot, but that's quite literally billions of searches that they've gone down. And when you look at the same time frame, Bing, for instance, has gone up about 1.5%. So they've been taking market share from Google, but other search engines, like you said, DuckDuckGo, and also some of these new generative tools are also starting to take some of the market share from Google. And what we know is, and most SEO people I think will probably tell you this, is that if you're optimizing for Google, most of the time you're also doing the same activities that are optimizing for other types of search engines. And there's going to be some new strategies that develop over time. But if you're doing the good things right, creating a reliable website with credible information, and you're an authoritative voice in your respective industry, those types of activities over time are going to infiltrate other areas of search as well.
I didn't know the numbers, like in terms of market share, anything like that, but it seemed like with all the rule changes out there, with the cookie restrictions and just the ads and just this growth in other browsers, it seemed like I wasn't sure how much of a dent they had made, but it sounds like they made it dent.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but Google's had some very public failures over the last year or so when it comes to search generative experience, when it comes to some of their AI tools, and even now, if you go to Twitter SEO and just kind of look at what other SEO people are saying, you're giving results about, gosh, there's a lot of really non-relevant stuff in search results. And that's going to skew people's behavior. It may not skew it today. It may not skew it immediately. But I think we're finding that it's starting to cause people to look for alternatives.
Gotcha. And that's where Google has that's the crux of it, right? Is if it's not as valuable, people will go elsewhere. So I'm going to open the can of worms since we're sort of there anyway. And we have not talked about this question, so we can totally scrap it. I'm totally cool with that. But like, excuse me. So something like, we talk about AI tools. Now some of them with the search engines, they're like, but like I use perplexity.ai and have found it to be really helpful in not only giving me information, but giving me articles that apply without the ads. So it sounds like as these tools come out, I don't want to say it's a wait and see, but you just keep your eyes on what's happening and where things are going. I guess what's your take on that, or is there any uncertainty, or you just keep on keeping on?
Well, a little bit of both. I think it's only a matter of time before these AI tools really shift to an advertising centric model. I think that's really inevitable. Right now, they're surviving mostly on investor funding, project funding internally from huge multi-billion-dollar corporations. But at some point, they're going to have to take the water wings off and swim on their own. And at that point, we're going to see far more advertising in those platforms. So I think that's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. But I also see sometimes things that are like ChatGPT or SGE, they don't always necessarily give you the things that you're looking for, just like the problems with search. I think
expecting perfection out of a tool is a little too high of an expectation. But we're, as marketers, we all have to figure out along the way how to make it work for our clients. People aren't going to stop looking for a lawyer just because they have this new AI tool that helps them search more efficiently. People aren't going to stop having roof problems or needing an air conditioning unit fixed or needing new flooring just because they are using, this new AI tool.
And that's a good point. And really, just even as we're talking, it sounds like the more we shift into additional AI tools, it sounds like SEO will become even more important.
I think even more important and probably, possibly even more difficult and even more niche oriented, because you're going to really have to position yourself as the expert resource for these tools.
Gotcha. The expert. And that's really, it's like that multi-layer of expertise. Like it's, attorney, it's, the field, it's the geography, it's for this customer base. You think it may be going that, however many layers deep in terms of niche?
I mean, for the average local law firm, absolutely. If we're talking about, a firm in Nashville, Tennessee, someone's going to want to find information and resource that's relevant to Tennessee, that's maybe even relevant to Nashville specifically. And the user's expectation is that, and so the tool has to meet that expectation. Otherwise, the user stops using the tool because they don't find value in it. So I think definitely we're gonna see some back and forth on how this evolves over the next couple of months and couple of years.
It's an exciting time to be in it. That is for sure.
That's a word for it.
I didn't say good. I didn't say fun. It's just, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, before we wrap up, let me just ask any takeaways you want to leave the audience with.
The thing I often tell people, especially business owners who are kind of at that point where they need to find a partner, and they're doing some of it themselves. Maybe they hate doing it, maybe they like doing it, and they just need to find someone to take over the responsibilities. Just vet your vendor carefully. Make sure that they can prove that they actually, if you're going to have an expectation of performance results, make sure you set that expectation with the vendor and ask them up front, what's your capability? Who have you worked with? Show me some examples, and actually kind of hold their feet to the fire, just because unfortunately the SEO industry is fraught with people who will tell you that they can do it and they just don't execute.
Excellent point. So find the credible sources, the verified sources, and really it sounds like outsource it so you can focus on what you do best, because that's,
if you can. Yeah, absolutely.
If you can, and that's a big thing too. It's like when it works and when it's appropriate, when the cash flows there, it can do a lot of good.
Yep, totally agree.
So Doug, this has been fascinating. Like I've been trying to keep the conversation between the ditches, so to speak, and like I could have gone in a whole bunch of other directions. This has been fun.
Yeah.
So if people want to know more about you, if they want to know more about Everest Legal Marketing, where would you like them to go?
Yeah, straight to my website, everestlegalmarketing.com. There's even a resource on our website that allows for a free website audit, which basically allows you to, enter in your business that's on Google Business Profiles, and it will give you a high-level report about how your website performs, things that you can do to improve that, and you can do that right on our website.
Excellent. So if you're listening, everestlegalmarketing.com, we're going to drop that in the show notes. Definitely check it out. Doug, this has been so much fun.
Yeah,
I've learned a ton from you. I'm glad. And I have too. Have learned a ton that I did not know about marketing, especially within the legal profession. So thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be on your podcast and get some exposure to your audience. I appreciate the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.